But
I'm excited to hear your intro.
Forgot about that.
Oh, no!
Wait till you taste one, dearie.
Step right up, ladies and gentlemen. Prepare to be amazed as we present a tale of wonder, whimsy, and one little elephant with ears so grand that will make your spirits soar. Get ready for the one, the only, Dumbo. Hello, everybody. Poison Apple Podcast here. My name is Joey. I'm joined by David.
Hey, howdy, hey.
And Gavin.
How's it going?
And Hannah.
Hello, beautiful humans.
And Jenny.
Hey, y'all.
And like I said, we are discussing Dumbo, if I said that. I don't know if I said that. But it's been quite a while because Jenny was in Disney World. So how has everyone been? I'm going to assume Jenny's been the best because she was in Disney.
Well, now I just have the Disney blues, so it's, that rough adjustment. But I'm doing well, though.
January was a long year. So we're happy to be in February. And ready to restart 2025 with a bang.
Yeah, same. Pretty tired, but I'm ready to kick February's butt and get into discussing some Disney movies.
Yeah, I'm just excited for February.
We dropped 15K. Oh my Lord. 1,500 on a new mattress, and now we are proud owners of a king-size mattress, so that's been super exciting.
There you go.
Yeah, it is so much better than a queen. But
it's the little things.
It's been quite the 2025 so far, to say the least. So let's get into the movie stats of Dumbo. Dumbo was released on October 23rd, 1941 by Disney Animation Studios. It was based on Dumbo the Flying Elephant by Helen Aberson. Budget of $950,000, made $1.3 million. It's barely made money. Do you guys want to guess the tomato score?
85.
70, 85? Hannah, Jenny?
93.
72.
95.
I feel like it's all... Oh.
95, really?
The audience score is only a 70, though.
Oh.
Bummer.
Oh, well.
He said, oh, well. So I guess with that, we'll get into the review. What was your guys' initial thought? Hannah, let's hear it.
I liked it. I thought it was cute, but also don't pick. It's not even Dumbo. It's Jumbo Jr., okay? And honestly, the one thing I will say is, as for the fellow lady elephants, why? You're not that special, okay? But that's my main point I'd like to say.
I think you just indirectly called yourself a lady elephant.
I hope not.
You said fellow lady elephants, meaning you are also a lady elephant.
No, I'm not one of them.
Oh, man. We'll save Gavin for last because he's got some things to say. Jenny, how'd you feel about it?
I also liked it. I forgot how short it was.
Oh, yeah.
With right at an hour. I didn't realize that. But I thought it was cute. There were obviously some moments that, didn't like as much, but overall I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I liked it. I liked it as a kid. I like it now. It's just a movie I enjoy a lot. There's a lot of things that I noticed this time that I didn't like as much than the last time I watched it, so I'll talk about that. But I will also say that it's crazy that this has the same situation as Pinocchio, where when you think of Dumbo, you think of flying, and yet he doesn't fly till the movie ends. So that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I love the movie. David, how about you?
I also thought it was cute. I remember watching this one a lot as a kid, but there were a lot of unpleasant things about the movie that I didn't really remember until this particular rewatch. So although I thought it was cute, there were some parts that, if you saw the TikTok from earlier today, kind of had me turning my head a little bit.
And here comes the negative Nancy himself.
Look, I just think if you can summarize a film in 5 seconds, it doesn't deserve to be a film. And I honestly watched this movie and turned off my television going, I have zero idea how Walt Disney Animation Studios survived this film. Because I was very, very surprised at the fact that, to me, it was a giant step backwards from Pinocchio and Fantasia, and even Snow White. So I have some strong opinions.
They didn't make a lot of
Can't
money.
wait to hear them.
I'll give you that. They only made, what, $300,000? That's not a good win. But this was Walt's favorite movie, wasn't it?
Bless his heart.
One of the favorites.
Because that's why his Funko Pop comes with, he's holding a Dumbo and a Timothy Q. Mouse plushie in his Funko Pop. But,
Huh.
I don't know. I liked it because you said you turned it off when it was over. I liked it so much that when it was over, I put the live action one on. And I watched that one too.
See, I saw the advertisement for the live action and I said, really?
They add a lot to it. There's a
They
lot.
spent money on a live action?
They add a lot to it. I think, to me, the storyline and the way that things play out in the live action one is much better.
And
It's
I do
not a
wanna
much
clarify.
better movie, but
I do want to clarify. There are some good moments, right? It is not an awful film.
hey, I found some good moments in Fantasia. So
But it is. We'll talk about it.
speaking of Fantasia, I need some clarification as to what I missed in that TikTok that you posted, David.
Okay, yeah. So here's the thing. I rushed through editing that video. It was supposed to be what made me and Hannah break. I didn't realize that when she was recording, when her recording location was in the lobby of the Grand Floridian. So I saw just some dude walk behind her with just what I can only imagine was all the luggage he could carry for his group. And I don't know why, but I was like I don't know why it didn't click with me that she was in the lobby, but like I saw it and started laughing, and then she saw me, and it was a chain reaction. But that's also what I get when I rush through editing like 4 videos back to back.
I thought
I saw David lose it. I literally saw him. He took his notebook and he was like this, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Because if you laugh, I'm gonna laugh.
Well, now that that's out of the way and I understand what's going on, we can go into the yeses of Dumbo. First up, I want to say it's very convenient that they have the states labeled, so the storks know where they're going. Super nice. And then right after that, we have some of the most adorable baby animals just back to back to back to back. And then the baby giraffe with the parachute on its head because it's got the long neck. Man, super creative, unlike what Gavin said about the movie. This guy said it was uncreative. They put a parachute on a giraffe's neck.
I'll start. That moment with all the babies, that was definitely one that made my yes list, right? Because it was cute and it started off very, very strong. I loved that sequence, right? Seeing all of the different animals, and that was consistent throughout. The other thing that I saw that made me kind of chuckle a little bit was how every single train car matched the need of the animal. Right? Like hippos had water, giraffes had a little hole in the roof. Like, it was hilarious. And it was so creative. The personality for the locomotive, hilarious.
Mhm.
The whole "I think I can, I think I can" as he's chugging up the hill,
Yeah.
and then I knew I could,
thought
I knew I could.
yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
that was great. And like I said, this film has some really cute moments, and some really positive moments. I think the mouse was one of the
The
better
mouse, the
parts.
disrespect.
That is Timothy Q. Mouse, sir.
Not
The
his
mouse,
name.
the
Treat it with
mouse
respect or keep it out of your mouth.
was one of the better aspects of the film. I love the fact that he was, while he had his own ambition, he was consistently present. Unlike Jiminy Cricket, when we talked about it in the Pinocchio episode, he was consistently present. He was what Jiminy Cricket should have been. And I do like that aspect of it.
Where is my note about that? I think I said the exact same thing. So Timothy thrived where Jiminy failed.
Yeah,
Is what I wrote.
Yes,
yeah.
I love that.
I love the hallucination animation
Mhm.
was tremendous. I thought that a lot of the animal features, expressions, and body language translated really, really well. That's all I'll go into about the animation for now. But I do think that they did a really great job with whoever the mouse is. Um, and and I do think that they did a really good job with the animal expressions, and the creativity when it came to the animals being present on the screen. I did enjoy that.
So I'll just go off of your mouse notes. Timothy Q. Mouse is so much better than Jiminy. He has a better design. He's got a better personality. He's a better friend. He's got a better soul. He's just leaps and bounds better.
Mhm.
He immediately started sticking up for Dumbo, even though he didn't know him yet.
Yes.
He goes to see how he's doing after he scares the elephants, and then he realizes that he scared him, so he was like, oh, I'm going to tone it down a notch to help him come out. And then he tells Dumbo that he thinks his ears are beautiful when everyone's making fun of him.
I know.
He gave Dumbo a bath because Mrs. Jumbo wasn't around to do it anymore.
Mhm.
And then he let Dumbo hold his tail like he was an elephant.
Yes.
And then Timothy stood up to the crows because he is the best friend.
Yeah. Yeah, and the one thing that I did leave out of this is I think this was some of the most amazing audio mixing I've seen of the four we've watched so far, including Fantasia. When he sticks his head up underneath Dumbo's ears and you hear the echo. And then he comes out of Dumbo's ears and it's the normal audio. When he falls into the bucket of alcohol/water and he's humming underneath the water and you hear the gargles and then he pops out and it's normal. Like it was the audio mixing in this was so accurate and spot on and wonderfully done. So when we get to the nitty-gritty of filmmaking, the audio mixing was leaps and bounds above the other three movies that we've watched so far.
Yeah. And then speaking of sound, I think the soundtrack and the music was pretty dang good in this movie too. Nothing like fantastic, but like just the background, just the plain soundtrack with no words, that just the nice upbeat music is good. Then Casey Jr. coming down the track, I love that song. The Rustabouts is all right. Baby Mine is, we'll get into Baby Mine. But
I get my revenge this week from last week. You saw the clip that was posted on TikTok. This is the least memorable music of any Disney film I've ever seen.
I mean, I can't argue it. I mean, I don't have any of these songs on my playlist.
Yeah.
But we're not to the yikes moments right now.
I thought Mr. Stork was pretty good. He was pretty funny,
Yeah.
especially when he has Mrs. Jumbo sign and then she signs an X and he looks at it and he goes, oh, and then just continues. I just thought that was a little.
Like almost like the realization, like, oh yeah, like
Yeah.
she's an elephant. Like she doesn't have a signature. What am I doing? Like
Did you guys see the part where they were like up on the cloud and it was Dumbo and like the sack that he's
Kept
in,
falling
keeps
through the
keeps
cloud.
going to fall, and he's like,
Another small moment that I thought was hilarious that I never saw before is when the train comes to a stop at their newest location,
oh.
all of the animals like jerk forward and all of the lions just smash their head into the wall. I just, for some reason, that popped me today.
Yeah.
But going back to Dumbo, I think Dumbo is absolutely adorable, and I'm going to put it out there that I think he's probably the cutest Disney character.
Ooh.
When I was watching it, I was like, I don't think there's a Disney character out there that's cuter than Dumbo. Baby Todd is pretty dang cute from Fox and the Hound. But
It's a very close second, but yeah, I'm with you. Baby Dumbo is just in general as a character, definitely one of the cuter ones out there.
and then they put a little doll on his back so that he could look like the rest of the elephants in the parade.
I know.
The bath scene was so adorable, and it was well done, like what
Yeah.
you were saying with the audio mixing, where they had the music going with his splashes and whatnot, swimming, and then him playing around. Oh, that was a beautiful scene.
Mhm.
Him waving his little flag after he claps the tent. There was one more thing I wanted to say about him. Oh,
It's
yeah,
just like
here
the
it is.
innocence of him.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know, when he's in his clown makeup, so that's a Funko Pop, and it is one of the most valuable Funko Pops out there. It's the 13th most valuable Funko Pop to be specific, and it's the 5th most valuable non-Freddy Funko Pop. It's worth $6,600.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I have that one.
Just pick that one up at a yard sale, did you?
One
Man,
second
that-
here, let me.
Well, because that's one of the very first ones where they released so few at like a Comic-Con, and there's just not any out in the world. So that's enough about Funko Pops. Does anyone have anything else they want to say about anything, about Dumbo, about the music?
I mean, for me, you guys touched on a lot of stuff already. Casey Jr. I had Casey Jr. and Timothy Q. Mouse as like the real MVPs of this movie. I don't know why, but like Gavin said, the design for Casey Jr. I thought was like super cool and adorable. The entire stork delivery scene I thought was very well done. A lot of like visual humor came into play with that one, like with the hippo pool, like in their cart and everything like that. I mean, and yeah, the music, Baby Mind, that one, honestly, it did make me tear up enough where I was like, I'm going to call my mom after the movie's over.
That's
And I'm
adorable.
expecting the same reaction for Bambi, just to be abundantly clear.
So, since you bring that up, I guess we'll bring up the Pappy. If you didn't know what Pappy was, Poison Apple Podcast. The Pappy Cry Watch. Did this movie get anyone? It almost got me.
Yeah, me.
No one
It
else.
didn't this time, no.
I didn't anticipate it getting me, but I also haven't watched it since I was a kid. So like, but I remember watching it a lot. So like when I called my mom, I was like, I remember watching this a lot. Like, why didn't you ever like stop me after a certain point? She's like, I never really condoned it. Like this one and I think Bambi, she said, was the other one, and Fox and the Hound were the ones that she's like, I never wanted those on because I thought they were super sad.
Yeah.
Fox.
I also just want to say that a lot of this, like with Dumbo being picked on, could have been avoided because if the stork, I think that there was a discrepancy of he might have delivered it to the wrong mother because the ear size, the smaller ears, like Mrs. Jumbo and all the other elephants have the smaller ears. That's like the Asian elephants. But the African elephants have the larger ears. So it wasn't necessarily a birth defect.
Yeah.
It was just the wrong species.
Yeah.
That is a fan theory that That it is the wrong delivery.
Yeah. So
So in that case, is Mr. Stork as good as you say he is?
I never said he was good at his job. He was late. He sucked at his job.
I thought it was funny. I didn't think he was like the best character in the movie. That's
Yeah.
There was one part of animation that I thought, as soon as I saw it, I was like, that's really good. I want to see what Gavin thinks of it. The animation during the storm when they're putting the tent up, I think it's really good. And then at one point, the tent like flaps and the corner of it comes into frame. And I just thought that was just everything about that. It was drawn beautifully. It was animated beautifully.
It was different. I feel like we hadn't seen anything like that in a Disney movie prior to that particular sequence.
Yeah, that scene unfortunately is overshadowed by the incredible humane and human indecency. But the animation was beautiful. The rustabout sequence was just in my mind. I sat there going, how did this, I mean, even in the 1940s,
right?
How did this make it on screen? The elephants being the only ones that were contributing to the work confused me.
yeah, because where were all the other animals?
Right,
Exactly.
but the animation itself of the tent going up and how they went about that with different rope flings around the pulley systems, and how they made that so intricate and so detailed was very impressive. But again, that's all I'll say about the animation.
Yeah, I have some things about the animation for Yikes as well. But speaking of some wacky animation, I really enjoy Pink Elephants, the song, and I really enjoy the sequence for maybe 45 seconds. And then it goes a little long.
Yep,
But
that was my exact.
Okay, I was waiting for it.
but I really enjoy the beginning of it. I think it's very catchy. I think it's very well animated. I think it's very creative. It's very colorful. And this is what you do when you want to show what you can do with music and animation. Not make a 5-hour full-length feature film about an orchestra.
Just 2, but
Are you sure?
Yeah, I did like at the end of that like sequence when they faded into like the pink clouds.
Oh yeah, that was so good.
I did like that.
And one last thing that I'll say before I go back into Baby Mine is I liked him getting his revenge at the end, embarrassing the clowns, shooting Peanuts, and getting his mom out of the jail and getting her a fancy train car.
Yes,
a good ending.
I love that.
But
She deserved it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But going back to what David was saying about Baby Mine, I think that scene is just so emotional. It's so heartbreaking to see her locked up with all the chains, and then Dumbo tearing up when he sees her and her not being able to see him fully, and then him climbing into her trunk to start swinging. That is a beautiful scene.
I thought that was so cute.
I think it was them not being quite able to reach each other was what finally did me in at that point, where I was like, this is bullshit. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any other yeses they'd like to talk about? Nope.
I think that
We're doing great.
All right. Gavin, let's hear it. What are your yikes?
Are you sure?
Let's hear
Or
it.
we want to let other people go, then he can pick up the scraps.
I had a very difficult time with every single human being in this film being copy and pasted. Besides the ringmaster. If you watch carefully, the silhouettes in the tent of the clowns when they're walking out of the tent to go demand a raise, it is a pattern. It is the same 3, the same 3, the same 3, the same 3, over and over and over again. The same thing can be said about the clouds in this film, the rain in this film, the puddles in this film. It is a pattern of the same exact sequence of animation, copy and pasted over and over and over again as long as it's on the screen. There was no individual raindrop. There was no individual cloud. There was no individual puddle. There was no individual human. A lot of the humans in this film did not even have a face or defining features
That is the
besides their
worst.
skin color. Besides their skin color. And the skin colors adequately fit the time period in which this film was made. So the skin colors were relevant to the jobs in which these individuals had, which is just distasteful even for the 1940s. I think that somebody, I don't remember, I think it was Joey, said, "I love the maps at the beginning of the film." I wrote down verbatim, the maps for dummy sequence is ridiculous. Like you can't tell that that's Florida, right? It's the only state that looks like a boot. The only other the only other country in the world that looks similar is Italy, and I'm pretty sure you can't pin that as Italy
I
when
don't
it
think I've
goes
ever heard
into the
anyone
film.
say Florida looks like a boot. Louisiana looks like a boot.
Well,
I've
I'm
never
talking
heard
about
that
the
sort of
tail,
like
right?
either.
But anyway, uh, the wide shots took a step back for me. All of the wide shots I saw were back to the Snow White era wide shots where there was no defining features in the landmarks. There was no defining features in the water. There were patterns every single time they decided to go through and do clouds or cliffs or rain or whatever. It was a pattern every single time. Um, I just think that the animation in this film, outside of the things that we've mentioned, right? Outside of the animal features and facial expressions, outside of the tent, pulling the tent up and creating the tent, or the tent breaking down, I thought that was incredibly well done too. Um, Outside of those things, the animation was atrocious. I mean, even the ringleader, his mustache didn't move when he talked. It was the entire time, and just it was very odd to me. Beyond the animation, though, there was hardly any story development other than this baby elephant had big ears and was made fun of. And so when I go back to the beginning of when we started, I said if you can summarize a film in 5 seconds, it's not a film. The summary of this film is an elephant with big ass ears got bullied and then ended up proving everybody wrong and becoming a celebrity. If you can summarize a film in 5 seconds, not really a film, right?
I would argue
There
that
was
you can summarize any movie in 5 seconds.
I don't want to start stuff, but I'm kind of with Joey on that one.
I think that when it is so simplistic, there's not a villain, there's not a rising action, a falling action, a climax. Um, there's not the traditional storytelling of a film, which is the reason why it's only an hour long, is because it is lacking that depth. It becomes an issue. Like I said, most of the music is not very memorable, besides what we've already discussed, and it followed the same pattern with the ending as Snow White did for whatever reason. It was we had all of this build up. The main character didn't do anything spectacular except for the very last 5 minutes of the film, and then we had expository text on a screen that rushed the ending to where they were riding off into the sunset. Like, you followed the same format. I realized it was successful because 1937 it was unlike anything else, but like you just had Fantasia, which was completely unique and changed the sound of film, and now you are going back to the same model of rushing through a finale and rushing through the climax using expository text that not only rushed the ending of the film but also took away from the storyline of the mouse, because it was just like he signed a Hollywood deal and he wasn't in the closing scene. It took away from Dumbo's character development. He became a celebrity, but like, why would you want to be a celebrity in the midst of all of these people that have hated on you literally your entire life, from the moment you were delivered to your mother until the moment you realized you could fly? Like, why are you still there if all of a sudden you are that spectacular? There was just zero development in this film. And so when I look at this, and again, we have talked about a lot of really great things, and all of those really great things had rescued this film in my eyes. But whenever you lack story development, you lack character development, you don't have an antagonist, you don't have a falling action, so much so that it was a sequence of expository text once again. That's where I was coming from when I said I question how Disney Animation Studios was ever relevant after these first four films, because you followed the same exact sequence of Snow White, where you went through the most important, integral part of the film that could have made that film 10 times better. And I'm coming at this from a perspective of when this film was created, right? Like, even in 1941, you can draw the story out 20 more minutes, given that this was an hour on the heels of a film that was 2 hours, which means we know you can do it. Why, right?
It's
And
not
so
like
it
they
just,
ran out of time.
exactly, it just made me question a lot of, like, how is this character and this film not forgotten like the wartime films?
Because he's cute.
That can only go so far, you know what I mean? But I sat here and I turned it off, and the first thing I said to my wife was, I really have no idea why this character is even remembered and why this film is even relevant enough for a remake, enough for a ride at the parks, enough for consistent references to the big ears and the flying elephants. And to me, it wasn't the nose growing when you tell a lie. There was no reason his ears were that big. It almost seemed like they were like, at the end of the film, we have to explain why his ears were big. Oh, well, he flew. And that's exactly kind of how they handled it, was like, no, we didn't climb. No, we didn't just end up there. No, we didn't do, the elephants can't oh, we flew. It was almost like the creative process was then put on screen. It was like, oh, we can make him fly. Cool. It just seems so out of place and choppy and weird, and did not have a conclusion or a situation where you feel that the bullying was conquered, or there was a villain that was defeated, or there was no closing.
Yeah.
There was no closure. And it just felt very like, why are you sticking around? Why are you still there? Why are you still dealing with this? Okay, great, you're a celebrity and you got your mama kick-ass caboose. I don't understand. Like, I don't understand why this is still a thing. And it's like, Hollywood deal. He's a celebrity, breaking, news, extra, extra, read all about it. Good deal. Okay, bye. And it was just like, really? You know? So I just, the rushed thing and the lack of development, the fact that it was an hour speaks for itself on the heels of a 2 hour masterpiece. As much hate as you guys want to give it, it was different, and then this
This is
was,
just me.
let's revert back to Snow White and then do it to a lesser extent. And it was just like, wow, disappointing.
So this is going to be like a high 80s for you?
Absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I mean, I have things that I don't like about it. Like you said, the animation, I think they did a very bad job. Well, I don't think they did a bad job. I think they just didn't care to put any detail into anything other than the people who were right in front of the camera. The way that it started was really bad. Why did we have a dramatic narration for the storks? I just thought that was super weird. And why
And
the
why is it in
hell
Space
doesn't
Song?
Mrs. Jumbo talk? The rest of the animals talk, but why doesn't Mrs. Jumbo? And then Dumbo doesn't, but he's a baby, so I guess that's why.
Yeah.
But the rest of the elephants were unbelievably relentless on a baby.
Yeah.
Jumbo, we should call him Dumbo. That is diabolical. That is a baby.
Like, it took them no time to come up with that name. Like, it kind of makes you wonder if they just kind of had that one locked and loaded no matter what the baby looked like. Like,
They were
we're just
definitely-
going to dub her baby Dumbo no matter what he looks like.
They had it out for Mrs. Jumbo.
That's what I was gonna say. They were always hating on
Yeah,
her.
they were like,
They were
guess
waiting
what?
for an opportunity.
She's getting a baby
Well-
here, and guess what? Dumbo rhymes with jumbo, so.
Well, and the other one of theirs that made me mad was when I can't remember if it was in the beginning when they were all in the car together, or if it was later after she had stuck up for Dumbo and then had been locked up. But one of them makes the comment that, "What a temper," and I'm like,
Oh, that's
Yeah.
that's at the beginning because the
And
one
his-
of
yeah,
one of the
yeah.
elephants
All
is
the
making
together,
is like
right?
poking at Dumbo,
and she like,
she smacks him,
yeah.
and they
Yeah.
go, "What a
Mhm.
temper!"
But then they
Like,
were
no.
also kind of talking smack about the temper later after she had
Yeah.
been locked up, and it's like, okay, well, let's put your newborn baby in that situation,
yeah.
and let's see you handle that with grace. Like,
Yeah, and then they also, after that the mad elephant attack, Dumbo's walking up to them. They're like, "Let's pretend like we don't see him." So that's
Yeah.
a baby who just lost his mom.
But not only that, they're literally like, okay, we don't identify him as an elephant
Yeah.
anymore. He's a clown. You know, like,
Revoking his
y'all
elephant
have got
status
to be
is
kidding me.
diabolical.
they just
She calls him an
mean them all
assassin.
for no reason at all.
That line, "Get out of my way, you little assassin." What?
And also, when they spelled out freak, like they were like FREA,
Yes.
baby.
Yeah.
Like, both had so much trauma. Like,
Now, and again, I get the message of this film, right? Like, don't bully somebody for looking different. It's a very admirable message. But you had adults bullying a baby. The message is a little lost in
Yeah.
that, right? It's not the baby's peers. It's not his classmates. It's adult women elephants looking at this little kid and being like, meh, like, what?
And then those bitch ass bitches being all nice to him at the end just because he's popular now. Hell no.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
No, you did not.
Before we move too much further forward, I need to say real quick that I have been living with, like, for the past maybe like 20 minutes, this like kind of low-key anxiety that I let BS slip earlier. And I feel infinitely better now. Ah, crap, I don't think we ever really talked about what the swearing policy was on the Poison Apple
I
podcast.
need
Yeah,
a
we did.
moment.
We did because Hannah said let it fly.
You don't want me to let it fly with this movie.
But no, Joey, I'm kind of with you on that one. That like I had a note here that this was an hour-long movie, and of that hour, I would go so far as to say that 45 minutes of it was just unpleasantness because of those elephants.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just mean for the sake of mean, and just like nothing really redeeming happening with anybody that was on the offense in this movie.
And I mean, think about it too. We talked about how the ending was so satisfying for us that think Dumbo is just so cute and such a great character. It's satisfying to see him getting his revenge on all of these people, right?
Mm-hmm.
He just shot peanuts at people and dunked them in water and scared the crap out of them because he's a flying elephant and they've never seen it before. And now all of a sudden he's just this popular, great, welcome into the tribe kind of situation. What? Right? If somebody shot peanuts at me, I would be pissed. It doesn't matter how
Period.
special you are.
I would
Right?
die. But
Like-
with my allergy, I would just die.
Right. You're gonna sit there,
Jenny's
and
done.
shoot peanuts at me. And now
What a
all of a
way to
sudden it's
go
like,
out.
oh yay, Dumbo! Right? No.
Yeah, so we would not be friends.
How did Jenny leave the show? Well, a flying elephant shot some peanuts at her, and that's all she wrote.
Can't go on Dumbo at Disney World if it was going to be like a Buzz Lightyear version of it where you're shooting peanuts at the other carousel.
No.
But speaking of bullies, that kid, that dude
Yes,
making fun of him for having big
Yes.
ears. What is
I've
he
never
talking
wanted to
about?
smack an animated character so hard in my life. That kid.
Why? Where's his mother?
That kid
Like-
is throwing stones in a glass house.
Well, he over here talking smack about how big Dumbo's ears are, and it's like, look in the mirror, kid.
They literally took, what was his name? Lampwick.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
literally took Lampwick and slapped some big ass ears on him and said,
I had the same
Send him
feeling.
in.
Like
Send
why
him
is
in.
Lampwick over here throwing so much shade? He's like,
It's
And
when he
then-
became a donkey.
Yeah, and that's that scene's just such BS too, because Mrs. Jumbo's just protecting her kid from being bullied, and she removes him from the situation, and that kid goes and
yeah.
steals him back into the. And it's just,
And then
they
it's like
lock
she was
her up.
labeled as Mad Elephant. Like, have you met her? Like,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Terrible.
I got y'all convinced this wasn't so great.
like, she was a mother doing.
I
her
thought.
motherly-
I think Dumbo is cute. I didn't say that any other character except for Timothy Q. Mouse and Casey Jr. though. Everybody
even know.
else can take
I
a
don't
walk.
even, who's Casey Jr.?
The train.
It's a train, man. Did you even watch the movie?
He says, "Did you even watch
so
the movie?"
Offended.
Help.
Casey Jr. is amazing.
Not
You
memorable.
mean who's Casey? He calls Timothy Q. Mouse the mouse and then doesn't know who Casey Jr. is.
Go to the Casey
Okay.
Jr. Splash and Soak Zone at Magic Kingdom and educate yourself.
There you go.
Dude, I did the same thing though. I literally asked Jenny, I'm like, what's his name? And she was like, it's Timothy. I'm like, oh, Timothy.
She kept calling him the rat.
But also,
Save that talk for Great Mouse Detective. That's
but also,
Like, Mouse is literally in his name.
it should be more memorable, right? Like
Oh,
these
man.
characters should be more memorable. The music should be more memorable. I shouldn't be forgetting their names.
Exactly.
I just remembered
Thank
Lampwick
you.
from 2 movies ago,
Yeah.
and I can't tell you who the mouse is or who the locomotive is. Hello, story development.
Yeah. So I can suspend my disbelief a lot in movies, but those elephants standing on each other and on a ball, no way, Jose.
It was such karma to me because the one at the bottom, she's like the oldest elephant, and she was so mean to me. She honestly, in my opinion, was the meanest one. And then she's out here struggling, and I'm like, as you should.
Yeah.
Ripping
And then-
swag.
Yes.
How many things happened while they were climbing on each other? Like one literally wrecking balled into them, but then Dumbo
Yeah.
knocks them over. All right.
Yeah. Well, and it was almost like every single one of them made an attempt to destroy the tent as they were going down. Like they couldn't just accept defeat and fall over. They had to rip down the center pole to make sure that the tent fell too.
It was
Like, I'm
very
going to
dramatic.
snap
So,
as many
yeah.
swords in
Over the
as
top.
I possibly can. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
How can we make this the most destructive scene ever?
but Dumbo was the assassin.
And then his little flag.
Just
Another
admitting
thing.
defeat. He's just like, no, I'm done.
Another thing that I didn't understand is why could the ringmaster hear Timothy but no other animal? Whatever. That's just a small thing that they needed to progress the story, I guess. A
Yeah.
baby. Yeah, they didn't need it, I guess. A baby getting drunk is pretty wild for a Disney movie. And then I feel like Pink Elephants was so shoehorned. It seems like the animators just wanted to put it in to see what they could do while high on mushrooms.
I literally
That's what I said.
I literally made the comment, what did they drink? Like that's what my notes
Yeah.
like what did they drink? I have never once been
Absent.
I've never once been drunk and hallucinated like that.
No.
Like ever. You know? I just was like, does it have different effects depending on age? I'm not sure. Like
But also,
but
like,
the
that whole
animation
scene
for that scene was incredible. It's like some of the better animation we've seen the entire movie. It was
Oh, yeah.
good.
like, it was also like nightmare fuel. So like, if you like as a kid watching that, like, I feel like that probably like deterred a lot of children from wanting to drink because they're like, I do not want that.
No.
Speaking
So,
of that,
it's
that
also
is,
Actually, one
diluted.
that that it was like it was like one of like the trivia bits was that Walt initially was like kind of iffy with making Dumbo. But I don't know if it was like the storyboard team or the animators or who it was, they just kept on putting parts of the Dumbo story on his desk every day. They give him a little bit of the story at a time. But then there came a day where Walt like bursted into the studio and was like, "Well, what happens next?" And I would love to ask Walt in the worst possible way, which sequence was it that made him burst down the door? Because I personally hope that it was Pink Elephants on Parade, and that Walt was just like, "That's bananas that you guys thought of that."
Imagine that meeting, because the next thing that happens, he would have been like, "What happens next?" They're like, "Guess what, Walt? He fucking flies."
And like after Baby Mine, after like all these other like really cool things that they're super proud of, it's Pink Elephants on Parade. He's like, "What?"
That like in the parks, like for the ride, the Imagineers initially wanted to make the ride vehicles the pink elephants.
Yeah.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
I actually did not know that.
And they were like, well, maybe they actually want to ride Dumbo instead.
Yeah. God, that would not be as much of a staple theme park attraction
No.
if they went the original direction. Oh boy.
I
To
think
put this in perspective, my 6-year-old daughter walked in the room while I'm watching it and goes, "Oh, Dumbo. Okay," and walks out.
my son loved it.
She went and turned
bopping
on
dog
Wild
mode.
Robot.
I've heard great
Well,
things
wait,
about
yeah.
Wild Robot.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. But my point, it's like my 6-year-old is like, "Oh, Dumbo.
Yeah.
Okay."
We had yet another smoking Disney character. Very, very common these early days. And I'm not going to speak too much on it because it's not my place to, and I don't think it's any of our places to, considering our complexion, but those crows were problematic.
Mhm.
They were not, that I'll just leave it at that. The lions were hideous. I loved all the animals, but the lions were so ugly. And then my last note is, I love Timothy to death, but he jumps to the flying conclusion way too fast. Like, I'd believe an elephant climbed all the way up to the top of that tree before I even came close to being like, we flew. No, there's no other explanation. We flew. And then, I mean, like, they could have showed him slowing their fall and then him coming to that realization. But no, he comes to this conclusion with no evidence and takes the biggest leap of faith and was like, "We're jumping off this cliff, buddy.
Literally.
Here we go." But that,
Maybe start with a
Magic
smaller
feather.
jump. I don't know.
it's like maybe
The magic feather.
But that is all I have for yikes.
That magic feather.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any other yikes they'd like to mention? Nope. All right. So
Most of the music.
most of the music. So final thoughts. Like I said at the beginning, I really like this movie. There's not many movies that I like. I don't know why I was going to say there's not many movies that I like more. There's a lot of movies that I like more, but there's not a lot of movies in this old era that I like more than Dumbo. And I'm going to give it a 64 out of 100. And that seems a little low, but the animation is really bad. So. And the legacy takes a hit for all the problematic racial problems. So, yeah. Animation and legacy doesn't help it out too much. Anyone else?
Hannah.
Me? Okay. I gave it a 65. So
Hey.
me and Joey are kind of seeing similar on that one. But honestly, I didn't hate it. I really kind of liked it. I thought there was like almost comedic bits just for the fact that was like for everyone that did Dumbo wrong in the end, he's kind of like, here's some peanuts. And I just think it's like hilarious. But I mean, honestly, I just think that, like we were saying with Pinocchio, the fact that he had Timothy, I won't say the mouse or the rat, there for him. I really did love that, so that he just didn't feel alone while he was without his mom.
Who?
The
What?
mouse.
Next.
I was like, what?
I'll go. So I didn't rank it too much higher, but I was at 71.
Nice.
Um, I feel like I'm still like within like y'all's range. I'm not like that
Yeah,
crazy.
you are.
Gavin's face is just killing me.
You Flabbert is gasted. He's done.
So, Gavin, I'll tell you the last time I ranked this movie, it was a 76.
See?
But
I don't feel terrible.
but I took more points away for animation this time, and that's why it.
Did you watch like 5 minutes of it, or?
It's a great movie. I gave it a. See, here's the thing. The last time I gave it a 10 for storyline, 10 for enjoyment, and 10 for characters, and I was like, why did I give it a 10 for storyline? That doesn't make too much
Okay,
sense.
at least you recognize that.
And yeah, it's a great movie.
My dog got picked on by some squirrels and then decided it could go inside. The end.
I would watch it.
Yeah, but did it fly?
With ears like a dachshund, probably.
Yeah.
All right, Dave, let's hear yours before we see our first single-digit score.
Actually, me and Hannah were twinning this one. I also gave it a 65
Nice.
on the button. This was one that the only ones that I really docked it on were the music not being super memorable. I didn't really think there was a lot of world building, and I did not really care for the majority of characters. Oh, puppy. But I didn't really care for a lot of the characters in this movie. I mean, I've said it before. If it wasn't Dumbo, Casey Jr., or Timothy Mouse, I didn't really care for them. So yeah, that was what ultimately ended up getting me the 65.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Gavin, let's hear it.
All right.
For all the shit that I've given it, I gave it a 51.
Wow, that is insane.
Was
That is
way
an
higher than I
insanely
expected.
high number
Yeah.
for how much you trashed
I
this movie.
expected
Let me
lower.
let me explain. Right?
Okay.
I agree that Dumbo is one of the cuter characters probably ever created for Disney. I agree. The audio mixing was tremendous. The comedic moments were fantastic. The emotional, they did a good job of making you feel emotional for Jumbo and Dumbo. They did a good job. Those four things are the only things, but they are big things, right? You develop an emotional connection. You have great creativity in audio mixing. You have amazing creative ways of introducing the animals and having them be a sense of comedic relief in the midst of a very bully heavy, dark subject, very racially insensitive film. So they do a good job on those four big things, right? The audio mixing, it was a 31, and I boosted it by 20 points because of the audio mixing, and it was so impressive. The audio mixing and the fact that you do get emotionally connected to Dumbo. Those two things rescued the score.
So I forgot to ask if we thought Hannah had seen this movie before. So I guess we'll do that right now. I'm going to say this is one of the classics. She had to have seen it before.
I'm gonna say yeah.
I think yes.
Had you seen it before,
have.
Hannah? You have? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, we'll go into our favorites and least favorites of this movie. What was everyone's favorite and least favorite moment? Let's go favorites first. I'm honestly gonna say my favorite part is when Timothy tells Dumbo to show him wave the flag, and he starts waving it, and he goes, "All right, I see you."
I'll go next since I've had so much crap to say. They make Dumbo stand on that ledge 10 stories higher towards the end of the film after he's learned to fly. The building's on fire. He's got the clown makeup. And him and Timothy Q Mouse are the only ones that know. Like they are like very like watch this. And that to me, I was like, okay. +2. Like that's a great all right, cool.
Mhm.
I loved that scene because I was like, okay, that's how you do. Like, you show they've had this complete 180. They were insecure, scared, frightened, and now they're like, 20 stories high. Okay, watch this. And I like that.
Mine was a like very similar with that scene because I liked whenever like the magic feather flew out and he was scared
Yeah.
for like a brief moment and then the
Mhm.
realization clicked and he realized that it actually wasn't a magic feather and that he had it in him all along.
Yeah.
And just seeing that kind of click and all, just happen from there.
Mhm.
And then obviously the revenge part of getting
Yeah.
everyone back. But
Mhm.
my like favorite moment was him having that realization that he had it in him.
Dave.
I think.
Never mind, Hannah.
Oh no,
Hannah.
David. No, that's fine. Honestly, I kind of have a couple, but it all goes back to Dumbo's mom and just the fact that she was so big on reassurance and letting Dumbo know that it doesn't matter what you look like I'm your mother and I love you. And like when she would sing to him and like sway him with her trunk, and then she literally takes his ears, gives them a purpose, and wraps him up in his ears like it's a blanket. And just like the reassurance where she's like, these people can think you're different, but like I love you no matter what. And I'm just like, win for mom.
That is a good point. Do we think that Baby Mine is sung by Mrs. Jumbo, or it's just playing ominously?
I always thought that it was her singing it.
Yeah, I always
I mean,
thought, yeah.
with the captions on it does say Jumbo.
Does it? All right.
Yeah.
There we go.
This is kind of supposed to be like a lullaby sort of a
Yeah.
deal. So
Well,
with
then I
her
take back my
yeah.
spot where I said, why doesn't Mrs. Jumbo talk?
Well,
singing
here's
a
the
whole
talk.
musical number.
That was the only time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
That was
David,
the only time.
what was your favorite?
So I honestly the one that I had was the joke of Casey Jr. going, I think I can, I think I can, Joe, I thought I could.
Yes.
It was it was a joke that I don't think it did, and not that I don't think it didn't really add anything to the movie in the way of plot or character development, but it just in a movie that started with probably 10 to 15 minutes of unpleasantness, it was like this like little lighthearted thing that I thought was really cool. But Joey, why?
What?
There was no plot or character development.
Oh,
Allegedly. But Joey, Timothy Mouse saying "I see you" when he's waving the flag, I might have to steal that.
It's so
that was
good.
one that I remember audibly making me laugh.
It's so good. He says, "Let's see you wave that flag." And he was like, "All right, I see you."
He was so
There were a lot of really funny parts.
Oh man! So least favorite moments. I'm gonna say my least favorite moment is just the whole sequence where they're stacking on top of each other. That's just so dumb, unnecessary. Who's next?
The elephants voting him out, like not recognizing him as an elephant anymore.
That was mine too.
That one made me so angry to a degree that I think is actually unreasonable.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gavin.
Nope, go.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was gonna say mine was whenever the kid, riled up Mrs. Jumbo, and so they immediately tied her up, and they like ripped Dumbo, and like immediately took him away, and just seeing the distress and like her just like have a meltdown because her son was being taken away, which the whole chaos was because she was trying to protect him. So just seeing Dumbo being ripped apart from her broke my heart.
Mm-hmm.
As
Whole movie.
beautiful as the animation was in this scene, the rustabouts having zero defining features, zero defining qualities, just being black.
Mm-hmm.
That was nauseatingly distasteful and took away from the brilliance that was the animation of raising that tent. And I get, 1941, it wasn't the same as 2025. I understand. But even for 1941, yikes, right? Zero defining qualities. They were literally copy and paste of every single one of them were the same. And so that dehumanization took away from the beauty of the animation of pitching that tent. That was my least favorite.
Fair enough. Favorite and least favorite characters. Timothy Q. Mouse, the Mouse. He is my favorite.
Yep.
Least
Yeah.
favorite.
Yep.
4 out of 5. Pretty good. And,
I said, yeah,
oh, did you?
No.
Oh, my bad. You didn't even know his name.
the mouse. The mouse was the best.
Hey,
Favorite character. You don't even know him.
Mouse was the best.
5 out of 5. That's amazing.
Tommy S. Mouse, whatever his name is.
I'm shocked no one picked Dumbo. That's cool. Everyone went Timothy. But my least favorite, usually I don't like picking the villain because the villain's supposed to be bad, but the elephant matriarch is so bad that I can't stand her.
There's no villain.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
She is the villain. She sucks.
There's no villain.
There's a difference between a villain and an antagonist, though, and I feel like she was the leading antagonist of the film, I would say one could say, because she was the one that ultimately started it. Like, I think you could remove her from the rest of the elephant herd, and then everybody, like the other, 4 elephants, don't necessarily follow her example.
Thank you. Thank
That
you.
is a very good point. That is a very good point.
Yep.
That was the English language arts teacher coming out in me. I remember doing a whole thing with my students that there's a difference between a villain and an antagonist, and I was like, aha.
So is that everyone's pick except Gavin's?
I don't know. The clowns.
That's fair.
That's fair.
The clowns, just because they were, well,
Just
they weren't really. First of all, this just furthered my fear of clowns. Like, oh god.
Oh no.
And I'll tell you what it was. It was the silhouette of the chunky clown pulled the thing and became a skinny clown. I was like, the hell just happened?
I was like, how do you do that?
What? Yeah. No, the clowns, they were at their core, their sole purpose was to sit there and make the punishment for Dumbo, the accident of tripping over his ears that was exacerbated by the elephants being clumsy. Their sole purpose in this film was just to make his life a living hell, and I was like, not for it. So probably the clowns. I know that the elephant matriarch was like super, I don't know. I don't know. She was awful. But the clowns to me were just like, I that was the first moment in this film, even beyond the song, that I felt sympathy for Dumbo, was when he was standing up on that ledge and they were fanning the flames and doing everything but putting the flames out, and I was like, save the elephant, what are you doing? Like, it was the one time that I was like actually invested in the character. So the clown's the worst character for me.
All right, so this one's going to be interesting because I truthfully don't know if anyone could answer least favorite, but favorite and least favorite song, I'm going to say that Baby Mine is clearly my favorite, but I have to give Casey Jr. Coming Down the Track an honorable mention. Love that tune.
Mhm.
So, did we just all agree on that again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's not many to choose from.
I'm
And
not gonna lie to you. I had the Casey Jr. song initially written down, then I was like, no one else is gonna say that. I'm gonna make it the Baby Mine one. That's actually the best song in the movie.
Yeah.
and least favorite, I mean, it's anything not named those two, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess I've seen everything is not a great song. That's got
Yeah.
problems.
I thought the creativity in that song was better than.
The Rustabouts isn't a great song.
I think Rustabouts I had written down as my least favorite, but I think it was more because I think the only reason I wrote that one down and not I've Seen an Elephant Fly was because I at the very least remembered
Right.
I've Seen an Elephant Fly. I legitimately did not remember that the Rustabout song was even in the movie.
Mhm.
And come
See, and the I've Seen an Elephant Fly, like that'll be one that if I'm walking around the house, I'm gonna come up with other ones in my head. Right? There's like I've seen a baseball bat. I've seen, like I'm gonna come up with other ones because it's fun, right? So
There's
that
a
one's not
prop
too
to it.
that one's not too bad.
yeah.
Mhm.
But the Rustabout song to me, I was stuck on the racism of it all. So that one could be influenced. The song could be influenced by the fact that I was sitting there going, huh?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that one's very good either. So
Hannah, Jenny, is that your pick as well?
Yeah, same.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, that is it for Dumbo. Next week, just lost some stuff. Hopefully, I didn't lose the video there, but if I did, we're back. Next week will be Bambi. If it is next week, I don't know when we're recording this. Apparently, in 2 days. That's a rough Monday to watch Bambi.
sorry guys.
But it is Bambi. Do you guys have a guess? Hannah, if you have not seen Bambi, just come up with a number. Don't give it away. What do you guys think you're going to give Bambi?
64.
I was gonna say 60.
I don't know. I think this one might end up being in the 50s for me. If not 40s. I do not remember liking this movie even a little.
Jenny?
I think this one may be my lowest one, so I was thinking like high 50s.
I'll give you a 58. I'm going to say a 35, and I'll be shocked if it's that high. I can't. That's an awful movie.
It makes me feel a little bit better.
But we'll talk about
I'm
that.
honestly, I was being generous with my 51. Now I'm rethinking my score for this movie. How generous am I being, right? Like you're gonna go ahead and break the ice and give it a 30 something. This was a 16. I don't know. Dang,
Kevin's like, I take everything back.
I didn't want to be the one to drop below 50. Now I'm sitting here going, should I have?
No,
Hannah
gave Pinocchio 42.
Oh,
So
well.
we've already dropped below 50, and then I gave Fantasia 30. So
I should have thought about Fantasia. Y'all all were hating on Fantasia.
me and Hannah both gave Fantasia 30.
Oh, they were so bad.
Terrible.
Oh, great stuff. So, David, where can the people find you on the internet?
Well, because I think this is airing after all the drama of the band has come and gone. Mickey.and.Mandy on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, and we're also have our own website, www.mickeyandmandy.com.
What do you mean you think this is airing after the band? The band
Well,
happened weeks
I couldn't
ago.
remember if the most recent episode aired
We can't.
after everything had died down, was what I meant.
We
I
can't
couldn't
post it
remember
in
the
the past.
timeline of the band and the other episodes.
Like I said, January was a long year. We don't know.
It was.
Literally.
Yeah,
The whole thing was a blur.
Kevin, where can the people find you?
At the Dapper Disney Dad on Instagram and TikTok.
Anna.
on pretty much all socials, I am just park hopping Hannah.
Park hopping Hannah, not just park hopping Hannah.
Yeah.
At park hopping Hannah. Jenny.
So on TikTok, it's Jenny from the Talk with underscores in between each word and one after. and, and then on Instagram, it's Bippity Boppity Bags.
These jokers with their hearts again. They like to make me feel left out because I can't do it. You can find me on all social medias at People Call Me Joey. There's variations of it with underscores, variations of it without it, and now there's fireworks going off. I don't even know. You just search People Call Me Joey and I'll come up. All social.
You're celebrating that watching Dumbo is over.
Get out of here.
Oh.
We will be celebrating the end of the golden age of Disney. Believe it or not, this is considered the golden age of Disney after Bambi.
Wow.
Believe me, I don't know. But next week will be Bambi. I appreciate everyone who tuned in to listen to this. It was a fun ride. This is just proving, these first 4 episodes, just proving that there is going to be many, many, many differing opinions for the episodes to come. Appreciate you guys listening. We'll see you real soon. They all lived happily ever after. Happily ever after, whatever I say. I don't know. See you later.
In the shadows we gather where tales are spun. With the Poison Apple podcast and magic's begun. Friends watching movies, critiquing every lore. Grab some popcorn, join us and explore. Just one bite, you want more. Beware our tales are rotten to the core. Mystery and magic knocking at your door. With the Poison Apple podcast, there's so much in store.